Hello, my name's Cameron, and this is me talking to my mate Jameson one day before lockdown was implemented.
Jameson, isang take lang yun.
This is also me a few hours after I was born. I've been spending the majority of my time in lockdown going through old photos and videos. That includes this clip of myself playing piano 11 years ago.
It's a video, Cameron.
And messing up the choreography during a performance. I've always loved the feeling of nostalgia, and all of that reminiscing reminded me that I have this. This used to be a biscuit tin full of German biscuits, but I then ate all of the biscuits and turned it into my memory box. This container looks like it's full of nothing but clutter, but each item here is a memory that brings me back to a specific moment in time. For example, this is the whiskey that one of my best mates Anthony and I drank 1 week before his wedding day.
Anthony, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling fucked up.
You okay?
Yeah.
I love you.
Love you too.
We spent that afternoon eating soggy noodles and talking about how it's insane that one of the biggest moments of his life was only 1 week away. We also went to a lot of beaches that week.
You okay?
No, I'm not.
Their wedding was incredibly beautiful.
Congratulations. I love you. I love you.
I was given this as I was leaving, but Anthony told me not to eat it. We still video call each other every 2 to 3 days. That was only a few months ago, but this handwritten letter given to me by my friend Ashley is already 3 years old. I love handwritten letters. I suppose you can pause the video and read what she wrote, but she essentially just said how she will miss me, treasures our friendship, and wishes me luck for the future. That's a picture she drew of me in class, and that's us at prom. Also, here's some of my tickets to prom, as well as my close mate Jake and I looking dapper. Talking about graduation, this is what I wore, and this is the programme of the event. I was invited 2 years later to deliver an alumni speech to the graduating class of 2019. Here's that speech. A lot of people make fun of me for keeping toys, but this is one of my favourite toys from when I was 5 years old. It's Peter Pan's sword that McDonald's were putting in their Happy Meals at the time. I was always obsessed with Peter Pan and how he was so adamant on not wanting to grow up. Next to it is a toy that my mate Brian gave to me a few months back. I suppose you can say that I never really did grow up. Here are some Harry Potter pickup lines that I gave out on Valentine's Day during my senior year of high school. It's incredible how I didn't get detention for that. These are my school IDs, which is essentially just a photo catalogue of me going through puberty. Don't get me wrong, there's some really silly stuff in here, like my notes from biology, the PSP games my brother and I fought over, my bus pass from London, but there's some really important stuff as well. This is my granddad Ricky and I when I was around 6 years old. He was a caddy manager from St Andrews in Scotland. And judging by our smiles in this photo, you can tell that we definitely aren't that different. This is my other granddad back in 2016, Granddad George. I only took this photo because my nan told me to. She thought it was hilarious that we were taking photos of him whilst he was sleeping, and I found that to be the cutest thing ever. My nan is by far one of my favourite people to video call. These are photos of my nephews and niece from that same year. They're getting a little too big now to sit on my shoulders, and that makes me a wee bit sad. Here are my classmates and I on our first road trip. We never really left town, but driving around and listening to music all night felt really special. Oh, and this is our school's football team in 2014. That was a really special year for us because that was when we won a football tournament. One of my best mates, Jacob, is a great footballer. He gave me his orientation name tag before he flew back to Korea after he graduated. I kinda regret forgetting to give him mine. Here's my report card from senior year. Yeah, let's not look at that. I love keeping cinema tickets. A lot of them are pinned onto my bulletin board. This is the stencil to one of my favourite tattoos. It took me a few days to convince mom to write it, knowing that it was for a tattoo. My mom is an incredibly creative person. She dressed me up as one of the 3 little pigs for World Book Day at school. I look incredibly sad in these photographs because my classmates teased me for wearing socks on my hands and for being a pig. But the joke's on them because I actually won that day. Sorry mum for not always appreciating the amount of effort you put in. You would take us every single year to wait 2 hours in line at Harrods in order for us to have a chance to meet Santa Claus. Till this day I remember how cool it was to feel the fur on his cloak. It just shows you that those yearly traditions were worth it. I love cards. This one was given to me by my favourite teacher in London a day before I moved to the Philippines in 2009. I have no clue where she is now or what her full name is, but I hope she's living a wonderful life. I'm lucky enough to have an incredibly artistic niece and nephews who make their own cards for me. I kept a 5 peso bill safe in this card because who knows, it might be worth something one day. No card made my dad happier than this one. It was given to us by a football team in Scotland, Dundee United.
Dodge to the left. Absolutely unbelievable.
Dad has supported them ever since he was a toddler, as have I. Football and music are the main things we bond over. He gave me this watch and cufflinks. The other day we talked about Kate Bush and Lena Lovitch. I can't thank my dad enough for raising me on football and 70s music. My brother gave me this watch a few years back. It stopped working ages ago, but it's still special because my brother gave it to me. One of my most well-preserved items in here is my Blue Peter badge. Blue Peter is a television show in the UK that first aired in the 50s.
Hello there. Well, these are just some of the hundreds of photographs that have been pouring into the Blue Peter office all this week.
Every single guest and host on that show got a badge. It sort of became a thing. Every single child in the UK would die for a Blue Peter badge. Luckily enough, my school was quite close to the BBC and we were invited to be a part of their 50th anniversary show. So instead of getting a regular Blue Peter badge, I got a 50th anniversary one.
We hope you've enjoyed the party. Here is to the next 50 years. Take it away.
Take it away, bro! Come on!
Unless you're from the UK, I don't think you'll understand how amazing that is. There's a lot of other miscellaneous items in my memory box. I won't go through them all, otherwise we'd be here forever. But going through all of these items again has reminded me how fortunate I am to be surrounded by so many amazing people who gave me even greater memories.
Just look at me.
Just hit 200 subscribers.
Oh, you look really good.
Oh, thank
You actually look
You know what? You look good too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Look at that. Mate, it's like you went to the barbers, right? They stopped it, then you just ran out of money. And you were like, okay, just stop.
Oh, Rick! Hi, could you make 2 separate bills, please?
The reason I love tattoos and why I have so many of them is because they stick around whilst we move on. And I suppose you can say the same about the items in this biscuit container.